Hey Lou.
Hey Nay, how's it going?
So good, babe. How are you?
Yes, yeah, good. I'm enjoying a little bit of our November sunshine, which is always lovely.
Always lovely. Absolute dream. So we've got an absolute cracker of a podcast today because we are joined by our lovely guest, Tasmin Lofthouse. So Tasmin
Yay!
is a conversion copywriter, messaging strategist, and the founder of Fika Digital. She writes personality-packed copy that helps service providers and solopreneurs harness their voice to make their businesses shine and to get their dream customers in line. Hi, Tasmin. Lovely to have you here.
Hi, girls. Thank you for having me, and thanks for such a lovely intro as well. I'm
You are so
excited to
welcome.
wax lyrical with you both about personality.
Oh my God, we cannot wait. So we are chatting to Tasmin about feel-good copywriting and how all of us can add more personality to our websites, which is obviously something that we are huge fans of. It's something that we talk about all the time here at Lucky Night. So Tasmin, do you just want to give us a little intro into you and your business and how it all got started?
That's like such a loaded question, isn't it? Like,
It really
where
is.
do you start? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, if we're going way, way back, so obviously I'm a copywriter by trade. I write words. As a kid, I loved to write like poetry, songs. I was convinced I was going to be an author. As a teenager, I was convinced I was going to be a journalist. Then kind of went off that track, discovered and fell in love with psychology. So studied psychology at university, where being the high achieving nerd that I am, I was the highest achieving student for consumer psychology. And I think that's what really cemented my love for marketing. Because I was like, ooh, like human brains are fascinating. And the way you write a certain advert or like where you position things in a supermarket will influence how people behave. So from there, I went into marketing. So I've been in marketing for like 10 years. Always had like a heavy focus on content throughout that. Then freelance life happened for me in January 2020. So I was made redundant like literally 2 days before Christmas. I was like, it was like a Monday. And the night before, I'd said to my partner, do you know what? Like, I've wrapped up my work for the year, but they won't let me have the day off. I bet they're bringing me in to make me redundant.
Oh
And there's
no.
been like loads of drama. There's been so much like commotion and drama anyway. So I went in, and then like 15 minutes after getting there, I was like, Tasmin, can you just come into the boardroom for a meeting? And I was like, wonder what this is going to be. But like, I wasn't sad about it because it was a job that wasn't filling me with love. And then I was like, oh, like, I don't know what like you guys were like with freelance, but I was like, oh, kind of always wanted to go freelance. Always wanted my own business, but I was always in that place where I was like, yeah, but maybe I'll get a couple of clients and then I'll drop my working hours and then I'll build up my business. So that was kind of for me, it was like, no, you're just going to dive straight into it in January and see if it can work. And we're coming up to 4 years later.
Yeah.
And it's working. And I specialize in copywriting and I love it. And that is the very long-winded version of how I got to where I am now.
Awesome. Can I just ask, where did Fika then come from?
Oh, yeah. People ask this quite a lot. So do you know the word Fika and like the
Yeah, just from like working in the tech industry, the idea of like having a coffee and a cake, like generally on like a Friday afternoon to kind of like chat with other co-workers, I think is often in the tech world the kind of forced fun to get developers away from their screens for 10 minutes or something. Everyone's like, oh, can't believe it. I love my code too much. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So it's like a Swedish tradition, which is literally what you said, where it is you break away from all your tech, all your work, everything you're doing, and you go sit with other humans, like in the real world, and you have coffee and cakes. I feel like usually like cinnamon buns. So
good choice.
I mean, Fika, I love cake. So that was like a natural, like this works, this is cohesive. And I really like that idea of like the human connection. So that was really special to me. And that's what I try and bring into my working relationships with people, is that as much as I'm a writer writing for your business, I'm also like your friend. And I'm here to like hear your business, talk about it. Like, again, like when you're both service-based business owners, you usually end up like towing the line of like service provider.
Yeah.
and therapist. Like
Yeah.
you normally end up being like hearing their problems and being like, okay, and then like reflecting on that and like helping them through it. So that's, I feel like Fika helps capture that really nicely. I'm yet to introduce like cake, coffee, care packages. It's something I really want to do though. I feel like that's like staying true to the brand name, right?
Very
Yeah,
on brand. Love that a lot.
Nice. Actually, as well, while I'm asking questions, we've got some quick fire questions for you if you're ready.
Oh yeah, go on then. Put me on
Okay,
the spot.
so question number 1. So what's your best piece of business advice you've ever received?
You say quick fire, doesn't mean I'm going to answer them quick.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So best piece of business advice I've ever received is probably, I have a business coach who I work with intermittently. She's fantastic. She used to work in marketing agencies, so she's got that marketing head as well. I'm working with her at the moment, but when I first started working with her, I was in like deep despair, want to burn my business to the ground. And the advice she gave me was small, not all. Because I'm the kind of person who's like, people please, over deliver, do all the things at once. And she's like, no, small, not all. Like, strip it back, do one thing, make that your priority. So that kind of really stuck with me.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's really key. Next question. So what business tool could you not be without?
Notion. 100% Notion.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will agree with that one. Yeah.
It's like second brain, like a business brain.
Yes.
So like for my clients, everything goes in there, perfectly organized, looks wonderful, works seamlessly. And then you get to like the Fika Digital folder where everything for my business is in there, and that's like chaos. Like brain dump everything in there and be like, I'm going to sort this out at some point.
Yeah, eventually
100%.
I will organise this. You're like, but for now, everything goes in this one massive file. Yeah,
I feel like I need like a third business brain.
Yeah.
The second one's got too messy.
Yeah. And final and probably the most important question: favorite movie?
No, that's the hardest question.
It's such a hard question. It's really mean of us, but do you want an answer?
Do you
have answers for this?
No.
Oh, actually, well, I have one at the moment. I'm actually going to get mine is Soul from Pixar. Love that one. That's at the moment. At the moment, I'm a
feel that
creature.
Is the case. I'm very fickle when it comes to movie, but I do love a good animated movie. Because it's coming up to that time of year, I think I'm not going to give you a favorite movie. I'm just going to tell you, I absolutely love cheesy Hallmark movies.
Oh,
there's something about them.
They're great. They're great. What was the one that we watched last year, Nate?
The Lindsay Lohan
Lohan. That was
terrible,
a roller coaster. Oh,
that was such an experience.
It was good. Fantastic in the worst way. Yeah, loved it.
Yeah, like say if like Callum's gone out, I'm like, Hallmark movie time, and he'll come back and be like, what terrible movie did you watch today? And I'm like, well, let me tell you all about it.
I absolutely love it. I mean, 'tis the season. You've got that absolutely spot on. I love that.
Perfect.
Oh, well, that's amazing. Thank you so much for running through these quick fire questions. I think we're all feeling more warmed up and ready to get into copywriting and why adding personality is so important. So that is what I want to dive right in with. So it's another great big question for you. Why is it so important to inject your copy with personality? Why can't we just kind of stream of consciousness, write down the facts? Why do we need to have that sort of personality in there as well?
Yeah, going in with the juicy question.
Yeah.
So, really short answer. The facts are really, really boring. And like, if you see a fact, you might be like, yeah, okay, I get that. But you're just going to glaze over it. There's no emotion attached to like a cold, hard fact. But if you get to hear someone's story, so if they put personality into their copy by using storytelling, you can resonate with that. You can kind of picture that journey. And like, especially if they do that story from the perspective of you, the target audience, you can see yourself in that story and be like, holy shit, this speaks to me. Like, this is what I'm going through right now. This is what I need. And you're going to build a stronger emotional connection with the copy than if they just went, running a small business is really hard. Here's a bunch of statistics about why people fail and blah, blah, blah. Like, that you'll just read and be like, okay, great, but like that's really boring, it's really cold, I don't really get it, I don't know what to do. But if they position that as a story where it's full of emotive language, it's just going to get you on board. You're going to warm to it a lot better. And then in terms of the personality of the person, so you can have a website and you can make it really starched and really businessy and really professional. And sometimes when you're starting a business, you might think that's the route you have to go down. But I think if you go down that route, especially if you're like someone who's like a micro business owner, where it's you running all the operations really close to your business, you fall out of love with your business if it's just really bland and professional and starched. But if you put your personality into it, you will fall in love with your business as well, because you get to show up as who you actually are. So like if you're someone who loves to tell a dad joke, like fire some dad jokes into your Instagram posts or on your website or whatever. And then when somebody works with you, they'll already have that feel of what it's like and what you're like as a person. So you'll naturally attract those people who vibe with your personality, and then it's going to feel a lot better. Whereas if you showed up in that bland, starched, professional way, you might then feel like, oh, well, I can't show up on a video call and be my usual silly, down-to-earth self. You'd feel like you have to show up as like a suit.
Yeah.
So I feel like, yeah, a couple of reasons, like makes you feel good about your business, and it's that emotional connection that other people get.
Awesome. Yeah. So when you're working with a client, how is it that you work out their personality? Like, how is it you would work with them to kind of draw that out and kind of give them, because to be honest, especially mainly because we work with female-led businesses, I would say a lot of it's a confidence thing of not wanting to put your personal, because it's quite raw, isn't it? And it's quite, you know, to put yourself out there and to be, you know, authentic, as they say. How is it you're drawing that out from people when you're kind of working with your clients?
Yeah, it is. It's definitely a vulnerability thing. Like when you put something out on the internet, it's going in front of thousands of people, right? And like you can feel a bit like, oh God, like what are people going to think? They're going to judge me. But you'd rather be judged for being you than being something you're not. Like, so the way I help people through it is a bit of hand holding and a lot of data. Like that's like my combination. So people might have a brand and they'll have kind of mapped out what they want it to look like. And over time, maybe their brand has changed and it doesn't quite match that initial vision. Or they've started a brand, but they just don't know what words to write. So they go with that carbon copy of, here's what I think I should do because it's what everyone else in the industry tells me to do. So to help them find the personality, there's, I guess, like 4 steps to the process, but it's all very data driven. So like the first thing I'll do is we'll like workshop it together. So we'll have like a discovery quiz where I kind of just ask them a bunch of questions about their business goals, about their business from their perspective. And depending on like the project we're doing, I'll also dive into like personal questions about them, which people sometimes like, why are you asking me about my hobbies and all this stuff? Like it's not relevant, but it is relevant because it tells me about you as a person. So they'll fill out this quiz, and it's arguably quite a long quiz. And then we'll jump on a workshop style call and we'll dive into all those elements together. So like I'll ask them more questions, I'll draw it out of them, I'll figure out kind of the purpose behind it. I'll speak to them and get to know how they speak as a person. Like, are they funny? Like I said earlier, like, are they someone who's like not afraid to stand their ground and tell people what they think? If they are, then we need to make sure their copy is just as bold as their personality is. So that's like the brand discovery side. But adding personality or copy can't just come from your personality as the brand owner. It also has to consider the personalities of the people you're speaking to.
Yeah, that is like such an important consideration, isn't it? Like, it's so easy to write content about yourself, but your customer is key, right? They're the kind of person who is the most important in this scenario. Yeah, absolutely. And we all fall into that trap of, when we're writing a copy, being like we, I, when actually it should be like you, the customer. So when looking at personality, I'll also look at, your brand of personality is important, but so is the personality of the people you're speaking to and the people you want to attract. So that's when we'll do the customer research side, figure out who those people are, interview them. So like if they have customer base, then jump on calls with those people
And from those calls, and like I do surveys as well, so from calls and surveys, I'll then extract all the voice data for their customers. So if there's like certain phrases I see their customers saying, or like challenges they're facing, or they're talking about themselves in a certain way, I can pull that into the copy so that then when they read it, it aligns with them and it's got their personality there. So it's kind of bridging those gaps. So like the 4 parts is obviously workshop it, discovery quiz with the brand owner, all that juicy customer data, and then pulling all that together into like a messaging guide. So we've got everything all mapped out. So yeah, data driven, but like probably my favorite part because I just get to like grill people on who they are and like find their passions.
Perfect. Oh, I love the idea that, of course, if you take exactly what your customers are saying, then yeah, when they're reading your copy, they're going to be obviously resonate with it, thinking, well, that's my trouble as well, or I agree with that. That's how I feel as well. So for some reason, when you said that, I was like, that is genius. That's obviously so clear. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
brilliant.
this is something
really helpful.
We talk about this quite a lot with SEO as well, because I think when we are business owners, particularly maybe as women, we tend to assume that everyone around us we know as much as them. We're no more expert in any topic than anyone around us is, because we sort of play our own skill sets down. So we tend to use language that we think everyone around us will understand, when actually, as you've just pointed out, that isn't always the case. We need to meet them where they are. And it sounds like that kind of research is the perfect way to do that.
Yeah, I think what you said about SEO is a really good point, is that some people will get stuck in that SEO mindset of like, oh, but I need to just focus on keywords and making sure the content's all perfect for SEO and Google friendly. But like, your audience are more important. And like, if you write the copy your audience want and you focus on like the challenges they're having, the solutions they're looking for, that will naturally rank better on Google, because you're addressing the problems that they're probably searching for frantically. Like, how do I do this? And you've written something that's like, here's how you do it. Obviously, like, you can do SEO. So I do SEO as part of my packages, but it is that like relationship, like you have the SEO side, but you're not prioritizing SEO whilst neglecting the actual people you're writing for.
Perfect. Yeah, I think we try and say this so many times because we get a lot of our clients being like, oh, well, I've got told I've got to use this specific word and I can use this, like, if I use it so many times. And I'm just like, Google and like other search engines are far smarter than we could ever really know. I promise you, if you're speaking clearly to your audience, they're going to work out what you're trying to say. Like, Google's very good at, like, they've got a natural language processing to work this out for that exact reason. So yeah, really writing for your audience is so key. Too often I think we see too many like just like keyword stuffing, isn't it? Of just like all in a row. You're like, oh, okay, that doesn't make any sense, does it?
Yeah, like, I see what you're doing, but please stop.
Yes, yeah. Oh, that looks gross. Yeah.
Absolutely. The best keywords will always be the ones that appear organically in the language that you're using, rather than trying to focus copy around a specific word or two. When we speak in a way that aligns with our customers' needs and values, as you've just said, those words will come up organically in a way that is actually valuable and actually useful.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can still do the SEO bit where, like, you know, a keyword's valuable and you can still put it in certain places, but like not everywhere. Like, you don't need to do it everywhere, because like you say, it's naturally just going to come up through the semantics.
Totally. Do you have any tips then for how business owners can learn to write more naturally? I think that's something that comes up a lot. You know, we all can think a certain way, but then it comes to writing down and maybe we get a little bit more corporate, a little bit more robotic, a little bit more like we're writing a letter in the 1950s, which obviously isn't what we want. So do you have any tips around that?
Yeah, sure. So you're absolutely right. There's so many people who I'll speak to, and I did a LinkedIn workshop the other day where people were saying they go to write a post and they just get brain freeze and they go, I don't know how to write words, like, I don't know what I'm doing, and they'll never do it. But like you said, they have all that information, like, they know this stuff. They're just maybe, for whatever reason, blocking themselves from putting it out there. So whatever capacity you're writing in for your business, I think a really good tip to think about is just act as if you're texting your friend. Like, write it to your friend, and then that way, however you're writing it, it'll have more of your personality in it, because you're not trying to fit these boundaries that you've put and these expectations of like, this is what a business will look like. It's like you've just gone, oh Lou, here's what I'm thinking, word vomit it to like as if you're texting a friend, and then sharpen it up afterwards.
Yeah.
I think that's like the main one. Then there's like other things, like there are like copywriting techniques and like formulas that you can use, and the best thing for me is like just brain dump, put all your thoughts on paper, get like that spit draft, and then polish it up later. But as you're polishing it up, go through and be like, is this actually who I am? Like, is my personality in here? So in the workshop, I do like a personal branding exercise where we'll talk about like their values, their experiences, their personality, their skills and their strengths. So when you're writing copy, you can kind of cross-reference and be like, well, does this actually reflect what I've said my personality is? Is this showing my skills? Like, have I mentioned my experiences to make it more personal rather than just be really generic?
Yeah, and I think it's a great idea just to get rid of like that horrible blank page. There's nothing more debilitating than a blank page. So yeah, having something, it's far easier to have a whole wall of very messy gobbledygook sentences and text to be like, okay, the editing part is kind of flows a lot easier, doesn't it? So yeah, I think that's a great point, definitely.
Yeah, and like there's always comfort in knowing there's a delete button, right? Like,
oh yeah,
but you put something out there, like it does have a footprint, like you do have a digital footprint, but there's also an edit button, so like, or there's a delete button, so you can tweak it. It doesn't have to be the final version. If you're getting caught up on like having to get the perfect copy out there, give yourself grace, get some copy out there and improve it as you go.
Yeah, definitely. That like limitation of like the perfectionism again as like basically a form of procrastination, isn't it? That I think we keep talking about at the moment, it seems like, but it just keeps coming up, isn't it? I think as again, it's that whole women led businesses. It's just we can think of 100 ways to stop ourselves and 100 reasons why not to do the work, isn't it? So it's trying to get past all of these, get it done, get that first draft out there. Yeah, I think that's
just get
so
uncomfortable and get out of your own way.
Yes,
in the nicest way possible.
Yeah. So this is mainly a question from myself. So myself and Nay, and Nay's absolutely natural at writing. It comes so naturally to her. Like, how do you I struggle with putting personality in it, and I think maybe I feel like maybe my humor won't kind of come across quite as well when written down, or like how do you kind of recommend people put their quirkiness into it? Because I totally agree you should put your kind of personality into it. Do you have any kind of like tips for that, or is it just kind of keep doing it really?
I would probably say like just go for it, and then like if you feel like you're a bad writer, learn how to write, which sounds really silly, but like read up on like content hooks and copywriting formulas, things like storytelling techniques like the hero's journey. Read on how to do them and like approach it from like a logical perspective. That will teach you how to feel more comfortable writing. That's if like you're holding yourself back because you're going, I'm a bad writer and I don't know how to do this, then learn the craft and put it out there, practice, get better at it, consume other people's content that you really like and connect with, and figure out what is it I like about this, and see like, is there any patterns you're seeing? And then the other one, if you're holding yourself back because, like you said, you want to tell a joke but you don't know how it's going to land, just go for it. Like, like send it to like a friend and be like, does this make sense? And like get someone to like just be like a bit of accountability and a bit of a sense check for you. But if like you're just holding yourself back because of your own worries, in that case my advice would be like, just go for it. Like, don't be afraid to show off your quirky side. Don't be afraid to put more of yourself in your copy. And if you do, the more you show off that quirky side, the more memorable your copy is going to be to other people.
So true.
So it's a benefit. And the other benefit of doing it is obviously you'll attract people who appreciate the way you speak, and you're going to repel people who don't like it, which is a bonus because you probably don't want to work with those people anyway. because like you wouldn't connect. Like when you're having like meetings, you'd be like, we're complete opposites, this isn't working, we're clashing. So repelling people isn't a bad thing.
So true, definitely.
What do you think stops you in that regard?
I think it's also difficult, I would say, because there is two of us, and obviously we want a company brand voice. So I think it's trying to make sure that we're both in line. But I think the way that we've got around that is that maybe we kind of take on different platforms, and we actually, it's very hard to have a joint voice. So instead, I think we now a bit more go, this is Louise and this is Naomi's voice, isn't it? And I think we kind of, I'm more probably video orientated, and Naomi's a fabulous writer. I don't know if you've some of our newsletters, we get lots of email back about how people enjoy it, but sometimes she creates these fantastic stories that she's like, I just felt creative, I love it.
I love that. That's what it's all about. Like, just yeah, and you're right, like when you've got a brand, it is harder, but I feel like you're approaching it the right way, where you've each got your own individual voice, because you are individual people, you're not like conjoined. So you each have your own voice, and then you can create an overarching brand voice, and you can map that out and figure out the details of what that looks like in certain copy. And that brand voice was most likely be like an amalgamation of both of the best bits of your voice. And like, there's a reason why you both decided to work together, right? Like, connect in a certain way. You probably have like the same visions and goals. You might clash on some of those visions and goals, but like you could use all that information to figure out like your overarching brand voice, and then sprinkle in little bits of each of yourselves in there as well.
Love it.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing, I think, for a lot of business owners, is almost learning how to, because we want to add personality into our copy, but we don't want it to be this kind of barrage of just us and who, because we're trying to serve people, we're trying to give them value. Our customers need to be the most important. Do you have any kind of limitations on the way that, basically what I'm trying to ask is there such a thing as too much personality? Is there such a thing as too much quirk? Or are we really trying to embrace all of that?
I think the line for the limit is where you're comfortable. Like, how much are you willing to push? There are some people out there, there's one person, she's a designer, she has like a design house, can't think of her name. I went on her website, and it's like going into like a fun house, where you've got like the spin wheel, and it is just sensory overload, but she has put like 120% of her personality into that. So for me, like, it's not for me, but I can see what she's doing. I completely appreciate it, and it's successful, it works for her. So I really think the limit depends on how willing you are to push yourself, and how far you want to take it. But then I also want to caveat that and say, like, if your personality is like, I don't know, like you're an arrogant dick, maybe you don't want to put 100% of yourself into it. Maybe then you just need to like taper it back a little bit.
And kind of remember that we're centralizing our customers and our clients and not us. Like, yes, I think it's just such a difficult line to toe, isn't it? When you are, a micro business or a single business owner, you're being yourself, but you're not there for you. You're there for other people, and you need to continue that service of them.
Yeah, that's such a valuable point. Like, I feel like that for me comes into like oversharing. Like, how much of yourself are you sharing? Because there's a point where it reaches like you're giving away too much, and you need to, as you said, kind of spin it on its head, focus on your customers, your audience, your clients, the people you're serving and what they want, and make sure your copy is tailored to them, rather than being, as we said before, me, I, you-centric. Focus on the customer. Use your personality, but don't overshare and make it too much about you. But like, it's a really fine line, but the only way to get better is data, practicing, and not being afraid.
I think I probably see it most on the like about me page, which I do understand. It's obviously a page that will be about you as like maybe like a service provider or a sole business owner, but it's about you, what your customers would like to know. As much as like sometimes I just see this massive like wall of text. I'm like, I'm sorry, but no one's going to read your biography that you've very lovingly written of like, and I was born here in this year. I'm like, oh, it just needs to be for like, you know, to get a gist. Do you have any tips then for about that? Because I know a lot of people like struggle with writing about yourself. Any tips for like how you get that information out there, but it's still kind of directed for your kind of an actual user and not just kind of a journal entry?
Yeah, it's really funny you mentioned that example. I very crudely planned out my LinkedIn content calendar. I don't pre-write my posts, I kind of write them in the moment. But one of the ones I've planned in for next week, I think it is a tip about writing your about page and how your about page isn't really about you.
Yeah.
So like, I love that you mentioned that example. I think again, it's thinking about when you're speaking to your audience, what parts of you do they actually care about? Like, what do they actually want to know about? So the best way to figure that out is through that customer research. So when doing customer research, finding kind of what solutions they've tried in the best and why they did or didn't work for them, finding out what kind of qualities they want from a service provider, what kind of relationship they want, and also finding out parts of their personality and their personal life. So then when you're writing your About Me page, you can consider all the answers to those questions. So instead of being like, I was born on the 7th of April, 1993 in such a hospital in this little town, and here's what my whole childhood is like, you could like scrap that. Or you could give a condensed version. Like you could say like, I would probably put like that I'm a Northern girl because I'm from the North and I take great pride in being Northern. So you can add snippets of like your personal story, as long as you're bringing it back. So what do they actually care about? They probably care about your qualifications and if you're up to the job and if you've got that background and those skills. Or if you have been in their shoes and you've been in their situation, they'd probably want to hear about that. So you can tell your story to show that you resonate and you've been there and you've got the experience that they're looking for and you're the person to help them. So whenever you're coming to write About Me copy, think about what your audience cares about, what do you want to know, and what's potentially going to help them warm to you and help them overcome any objections they might have, like any hesitations. And go from there. Like there's tons of templates. Like I was actually thinking of building out like an About Me page template where it can kind of take you through different elements. So like the story about you and how you can relate it to your customers and yada yada. So there are like formulas you can use, but it is just again thinking about your customers' needs rather than your needs.
Yeah.
And just being mindful of that data all the time.
We love data.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's been the biggest takeaway for me from this episode, is how crucial that data is and how we should not be creating any new content, be it designs or copywriting or anything like that, without really digging deep into what it is that our customers and our clients actually need. So thank you so much for sharing so much of that amazing information. I know this is going to be an absolute value-packed episode for so many people listening. So before we wrap up for today, can you tell us a little bit about where people can find you? If somebody's really listened to this and thought, gosh, this is the kind of information that I need, how can they take those next steps?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me as well. I've loved talking all about personality, copy, and putting more of yourself into your business. So I am on Instagram and LinkedIn. I would say Twitter. Twitter was like my home when I first started out, and not so much home anymore. So you can find me on LinkedIn and Instagram, both at Tasmin Lofthouse, my full name. I do have a Fika Digital UK Instagram as well, which gets updated every now and again. So you can find me there as well. And then my website is fikadigital.co.uk. In terms of getting started, the best place to probably start is I offer a clarity action plan, which is £225, and it is literally a hand-holding workshop intensive where we go through all your messaging, we map it out together, and that's like your starting point for whatever's holding you back in terms of your messaging.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you so much for joining us on the pod today. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you. And we can't wait to catch up with everyone soon. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.